Hello, my name is Eric Chappell, Community Evangelist for InfraWorks 360, and I'd like to take you through the core features of Autodesk InfraWorks 360. What we'll be exploring with this presentation is how you can hit the ground running with a nearly instant model of existing conditions. And then once you've got that, you can add additional data from tons of different sources. You can then quickly create major features like roads, buildings, and grading, and you can use styles to make the elements of your model look like anything you really need them to look like. You can easily turn your work into an impressive presentation and get critical answers through analysis while you work. And finally, you'll see how you can share your work and collaborate with anyone, even if they don't have InfraWorks 360 installed. So let's take a look at how easy it is to create a model using Model Builder. It really is a 1, 2, 3 process. You open a view of a map, you draw a shape, and then you click Create Model. Model Builder will then use our mapping data services to go out to the cloud and extract the data for you. So there's no need to go out and find the data yourself. If you've ever spent hours looking for freely available GIS data out there on the web, you know what that can take, and the additional time that it requires to get all the data to line up and manage all of the different coordinate systems. Instead, with Model Builder, in a few minutes, you've got a working model with existing conditions data, and you can start building out your design in literally minutes. So let's take a look at how quick and easy it is to use Model Builder to create an instant model and get started with design right away. We'll launch the Model Builder window, which brings up a map interface like you would see typically in your browser. We'll type in the name of a location near where our project site is, and that'll zoom us right into the general vicinity. And from here we can pan and zoom and locate the actual location of our project site. I'll choose a group and enter a name, and that will allow me to publish my model to the cloud by name. And groups are a way of managing different models and how I share them with different people. So now what's happened is that request has gone out to the cloud and it's being processed, and Autodesk services are going out and gathering all of the different data that we've asked for. And in a relatively short amount of time, a couple of minutes to maybe 5 or 7 minutes, I'll get an email notification that tells me that my model is ready. And even prior to that, a tile will pop up in this InfraWorks 360 home view, and you can see it there in the top left, the Ozark tile. I've also received my email, which lets me know the model is available. Now all I have to do is go and click on the tile for the model, tell it that I want to download it, and place the model where I want to access it. Depending on the size of the model and the speed of my internet connection, the time that it takes to download, of course, can vary. But as you can see, this one, it happens pretty quickly in a matter of less than a minute. Once the data is downloaded, the model will then open in the InfraWorks 360 window, and it'll go through some processing to render the imagery that we've captured. So aerial imagery is part of this, terrain is part of this, roads, rail, buildings, water features, these all can be captured as part of the Model Builder process. And as you can see, I've got a very nice looking, robust, visual, three-dimensional model of the site that I'm working on and its existing conditions. So that's how easy it is to use Model Builder to establish existing conditions for your project site. Another great capability of InfraWorks 360 is that it can consume and compile many different types of data. As you can see in the image on the right, there's a long list of file types that can be supported, and within each of these file types there are numerous file formats or extensions that can be supported. This includes 3D models, files from Autodesk such as DWGs, RVTs, and point cloud files from Recap, raster images in a number of different formats, including raster images that represent aerial imagery as well as surface data or terrain data. InfraWorks 360 also supports file formats from other vendors, including Bentley, Esri, and SketchUp, and again, this only represents a small fraction of all the file formats that are available or can be consumed by InfraWorks 360. What this allows you to do is to build out your model with virtually any type of data that you come across, giving you incredible flexibility and providing an environment where you can aggregate many different types of data from many different sources. So once you've established the basis of your model using Model Builder and other data sources that you have available, you'll then want to move on to creating your design ideas in the full stunning 3D that InfraWorks 360 provides. And the core tools of InfraWorks 360 allow you to very quickly create design features such as roads, buildings, bridges, grading, trees, water features, and even underground infrastructure. And in fact, you can create literally anything that you have a 3D model of in your library, and that can be light poles, cars, people, or anything that you may have access to. Now, the core tools of InfraWorks 360 do provide an extensive library of things like light poles, cars, and people, but you can of course supplement that with your own 3D models as well. Let's take a look at how easy it is to create sketch features in InfraWorks 360. So I've got my model that's been created by Model Builder, and I'll start by creating some sketch roads. And it's just a matter of launching the Roads tool, choosing a style that I want to use, and just by clicking near one of the existing roads, I can automatically tie to it and intersect with it. So when I get to this end point of the road, I'm just going to carefully select that last point so that it's touching the other road, and you can see that InfraWorks 360 automatically cleans up the intersection. I'm also noticing some pretty deep cuts with my road, which isn't ideal, so I can simply right-click and tell InfraWorks 360 to drape this feature, and it will have it match existing ground a little more closely, but still maintain reasonable vertical curvature throughout the alignment of the road so that it's not creating any extra steep slopes. And then if I create another connection here, you'll see again how smart InfraWorks 360 is about creating intersections with other features in the model. So it went ahead and created a three-way intersection automatically at the location where it was currently a 90-degree bend. So not only can we create roads, we can also create other features as well. So next I'm going to use a coverage to represent some new construction in this area. So just to again represent some fresh grass where we've done some recent development, I'll create this coverage, and we've got a special kind of material in InfraWorks 360 that is scale dependent. So you can see as I zoom in, this texture, this grass texture gets more and more detailed, and as I zoom out, it continues to look good at whatever zoom level I choose. So we've got some nice new grass there. I'll create another coverage to represent some pavement, and I can even apply some grading to this paved area. Right now it's being draped over the shape of the existing terrain, but perhaps I want to shape it myself. So I'll use this shape terrain command and some other options to make the grading a little more as designed than as though it's draped on the existing terrain. So very quickly I have a new road, I've got a parking lot, I've got some new grass. Next I can place a building on this location, so I'll just choose any style, not being real picky here about my style choices because I can always change them later on. You can see how quickly you can create a building, adjust the height, adjust the shape of the building also very easily. If I want to make it a little bit shorter or even add a point and make it an L shape, it's all very easy to do. I can even add infrastructure. So if I were to go in and create some pipeline connectors, let's say a concrete manhole, I can just choose that and double click a few spots in the model to create my manholes. And then I probably want to add some pipes that connect to those manholes. So I'll choose a concrete pipe, and InfraWorks 360 is smart enough to recognize that I'm close to one of the manholes and it automatically connects. And I can even dip underground and take a look at my underground infrastructure. And then finally, if we want to add some additional detail to the model, we can go into what's called city furniture, and perhaps you want to add a hydrant to our model. So I'll choose a hydrant style and just place one here by the corner of the building. And it would add some life and detail to the model if perhaps we put some cars in the parking lot. So there's a nice sports car. We'll park it right by the door here. And if we don't like the positioning of the object, of course we can move it around and place it wherever we like. This car is a little bit far from the building, so I'll place it a little more closely. And again, just to add more life and detail to the model, it'd be great to have some people in it as well. So here we've got a scene of two people standing and talking in the parking lot. And it's just amazing what this little bit of detail can do to your model to really bring it to life. And let's not forget that we can adjust the visual appearance of the model as well. For example, if I don't like that this area is in a large amount of shade, I can change the time of day and place some sun in that area. Looks like I need to be pretty near evening time to do that. But again, I can create a very realistic scene, whether I'm zoomed in very closely or zoomed out at a distance. So there you can see how quick and easy it is to add design elements to your model to start to help yourself and your audience to visualize the ideas you have for the design. Another great capability of InfraWorks 360 is that it lets you get the look and design that you need through the use of styles. Now, if you're familiar with other Autodesk products like Civil 3D or Revit, then you know what styles are all about. They're a way for you to store the geometry and appearance of an object and give it a name. And then you can switch styles, apply different styles to an object to very quickly change a lot about it all at once. And of course you can customize these styles to suit whatever your needs are. So let's jump into InfraWorks 360 and take a look at how easy it is to apply styles to our model. So on the right of my screen you see the style palette, which is where I can store and organize all the styles for the product. And a good example is the facade styles, which I can quickly go in to the brick folder, choose a style that I'd like for my building, and that quickly, just by dragging and dropping, I can completely change the look of the building. And it pretty much works for any object in the model. If I go into my 3D model styles for vehicles, I may want to change the sports car to something a little more economical and conservative, so I'll drag and drop the green economy car, and just like that, it changes. Another way that styles can be leveraged is that if you change a style, and if that style is used in the model, it will automatically update the model. So I can edit this parking lot style, and I'm just going to do something silly like change the color of the pavement to red, and you can see that it automatically updates the model based on the change that I've made. So there you can see how quick and easy it is to leverage and apply styles in an InfraWorks 360 model. So once you've created a model in InfraWorks 360, you're going to want to share it with others. And that's another great set of features that the product has, the ability to create ways for you to share your model with other people. Now this includes accurate and realistic sun and sky effects, which lets you change the appearance of your model and make it seem very realistic. In addition, you can capture still images, so if you want to place still images in reports or presentations or web pages, that's very easy to do. And finally, if you want to create a fly-through, walk-through, or drive-through animation of your model, that's really easy to do as well, because the storyboard functionality will generate a very smooth animation by just picking a few keyframes and transitioning between them. Let's see how that works. Currently I'm looking at the storyboard function, which you can see at the bottom of my screen, and it's just a series of simple keyframes. So right now I'm at keyframe 1, and if I take a look, this is keyframe 2 and keyframe 6 and so on. And it's very easy to generate these keyframes. I simply zoom in to a spot in the model, and I can use one of the easy to use functions to create a keyframe in that location. And what the storyboard function does is it automatically creates an animation that passes through all of my keyframes, and I can set the speed from one keyframe to the next and control the flow of the presentation as it moves along through my different keyframes. So you can see I've used 5 or 6 keyframes to travel along this new road, stopping at the view of the building at the end. So that's how easy it is to create a fly-through, drive-through, or walk-through animation just by simply picking some keyframes. And that's really just a fraction of the functionality that's available in the storyboard part of the software. Now, a much simpler way to capture a model is just to simply get a still image of it. And we've got two tools that will allow you to do that. One is the Create Snapshot tool, which simply lets me save what I see on my screen out to a file, an image file that I can bring into a report or a presentation. And we've also got the Render Model tool, which is a bit more robust. It uses some settings that I can adjust, and it also uses multiple passes to create a much higher quality rendering. And with this function, I have more control over the settings that go into the rendering to create a higher quality rendering. The Render tool also uses a series of passes, so I can allow the tool to run as many passes as I want until I get to the desired level of quality that I'm looking for, at which point I can stop the render, save it out to a file, again create an image that I can place in a report, on a web page, or something of that nature. Another great capability of the core tools of InfraWorks 360 is that they allow you to get answers that you need while you work. For example, you can measure distances, calculate cuts and fills, perform visibility studies, or even use themes to tell a story. Let's take a look at some of the ways you can easily get answers from within your InfraWorks 360 model. Using some simple tools, I can easily measure distances either from one point to another or along a given path. So for example, if I want to know the distance to travel from this building to another building nearby, I can trace the path and get a readout that tells me how far it is if I were to walk or drive along that distance. I can also get terrain statistics, which give me, among other information, cuts and fills about specific design that I'm proposing. So for example, the grading involved with this parking lot and graded area results in a net volume of about 13,000 cubic yards. I've also got visibility tools that I can utilize. So from a given vantage point, I can use the range finder to determine how far away an object is, what its altitude is, and other information. And another series of tools that can be very handy in telling a story about my model is the idea of themes. For example, I can launch a terrain theme, which in this case is based on elevation, which visually tells a story about all of the different elevations in my model. Themes can be based on any number of properties for terrains, but you can also theme point clouds and individual features as well. So that's how easy it is to perform analytics as you work to get answers from your model. Yet another great capability of the core features of InfraWorks 360 is the ability to share your work with anyone. You can take a model and publish it to the cloud and use that for collaboration with other InfraWorks 360 users. Or if the people who need to see your work aren't InfraWorks 360 users and all they have access to is a web browser or a mobile device, then that can be accomplished as well. By publishing a web view or a scenario to the web, it gives anyone with a browser the ability to view the model, and through the handy panorama view that you see on your screen now, you can allow them to experience any point in your model with a full 360-degree view in any direction. And this is a very simple process to publish and create these panorama views within your web viewer. And if you want a full 3D experience, you can publish what's called a scenario. This will give the person that you're sharing your model with a full interactive 3D experience available through a web browser. Again, they don't need access to the full InfraWorks 360 desktop application. They just need to have a web browser. And you can even take your model into the field. The web viewer works on almost any mobile device, and as you can see in the views on the right, we've got the top view using the web views on an iPad, and the bottom view an Android device. And there's also an iPad app that will allow you to view scenarios with augmented reality, meaning you can stand in the model and hold the iPad up, and as though you're looking through it, you can see the model, the proposed model, projected onto the existing landscape. So it's a great way for your stakeholders to envision how your design is going to impact the surrounding environment, the surrounding landscape, cityscape, or whatever might be the case. So let's review what we talked about in this presentation. We started off discussing how you can get started immediately by using Model Builder to create an instant model. Then you can add more detail to your model by using data from a ton of different sources. Next, you can quickly design and simulate major features like roads, buildings, grading, and many others using the quick sketch tools in the core tools of InfraWorks 360. After that, you can control how things are represented through the use of styles, which are ways of storing and naming settings that control the appearance and geometry of objects. You learned how you can present your work easily by creating still shots and fly-through animations. You can inform yourself and others who you might be presenting to right in the model using analytics, measuring tools, and themes. And finally, you saw how you could share and collaborate with anyone, whether they're an InfraWorks 360 user or someone with a browser or a mobile device. These are all of the amazing things that you can do with the core tools of InfraWorks 360. My name is Eric Chappell, Community Evangelist for InfraWorks 360, and thank you for listening to this presentation on the core tools of InfraWorks 360.